Laura Trott, the former Conservative Minister, Lord Bethell, reacted to the abolition of the NHS England by saying, "I wish we'd had the guts to do this." Do you agree that the Tories just funked it?
No, I don't. The reforms that we brought in I think it was 2013, were well-intentioned, but it's clear
the
they
Lansley
haven't...
reforms,
yeah,
disastrous.
They haven't worked in the way that they were intended to. But obviously we had the pandemic. It would be not, I think, the best idea to do a top-down NHS reorganisation directly after a pandemic. But I do agree in principle with what Wes is putting forward. But I think people at home should be aware that this isn't a silver bullet. This system exists in Wales, where the waiting lists are the highest in the UK. The changes will also result in costs and disruption, and we'll need to see a very clear plan from the government for how that won't affect waiting lists further.
But you could have done it, couldn't you? You could have done some... I understand you couldn't have done it after the pandemic.
Exactly.
But you had, what, 8 years before then?
Yeah, but the reforms were just in and they were bedding. I think it was clear at that point...
you brought them in 2012, pandemic happened 2021.
2020. Yeah, exactly. But when they came in like 2013, I think. But it was just... What I'm saying is, yes, I agree with the principle. I think if we tried to do this after the pandemic, it would have been a disaster. So okay. I think it's right to wait.
All right. We're coming up to spring statement. The Chancellor will make her wishes known when it comes to welfare benefits. You were both Chief Secretary to the Treasury and Pensions Minister. Will you support cuts in disability benefits?
I think on the specifics, I want to wait to see what the government brings forward. But I think it's really important to remember that at the election, Labour said we could save no money from welfare. There was no welfare bill on reform in the King's speech. They've lost so much time when it was obvious to everyone that this was a benefit system that needed to be brought back under control post the pandemic. We'd taken some steps, which have been scored by the OBR, which is the kind of fiscal regulator, but there was more to do, and we had a plan at the election to do so. Labour are coming to this too late, without a plan. They're clearly divided on it, and that is not what our welfare system needs.
You let 1 million extra people go on personal independent payments since the pandemic. You just let this thing run out of control.
Well, as I said, obviously the pandemic had an impact on the welfare system. I think everybody agrees with that.
No.
Everybody agrees that there were steps that needed to be taken to bring it back under control.
We're now up to nearly 3 million people.
Yes, we'd started that process. Yes, we started that process before the election. It was in a number of our fiscal events, and they were bringing it down slowly. There were further we wanted the steps that we wanted to take. We set those out at the election. They were not taken up by the Labour Party. They're coming to this later on, as I said, divided and seemingly without any plan at all.
Is this your version of the Labour Party's view that the Tories created a problem that is an issue for everything they do? You are now saying that the pandemic seems to be responsible for all the things you failed to do.
No, I think, Trevor, it's pretty unambiguous that the pandemic had an impact across our society in many ways.
Yeah, but you could have done something about this.
We were doing things about it, and we have further steps to take. We set those out at the election. The Labour Party rejected those. They said there was no money to be saved from welfare at the election. I remember that very clearly. They're now coming to it chaotically, too late, without a plan, just ahead of their emergency budget.